Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sari and this is already the 11th episode in my knitting podcast series. If you watched the last episode, I mentioned that we were on our way to Scotland and a week has passed and we are now already back at home. So I would have wanted to stay a bit longer. We only had 5 full days to spend and explore Scotland. That was way too little, and also the weather wasn't that good. But what I've understood, the weather is always a bit of a joke in the British Isles. So we had a couple of days of sunshine and then a couple of days that it was almost constant pouring rain. But we did see a lot, and in this episode I will show you some little bits of our travels. So we flew to Edinburgh, or Edinburgh as the locals told me to pronounce it. We only stayed there for the first night, so from Sunday evening to Monday morning when we rented a car and we drove up to Inverness. Our original plan was to explore the northern shores and drive to the island of Skye, but the weather up there was really bad during our stay. It was pouring and really windy, and in the Inverness region it was sunny, so obviously we decided to stay near Inverness and look at that part of the country instead. So we went for some hikes. There were really nice hiking trails, very well marked, and the views were gorgeous. We went for a mountain hike. It was this lovely hike among heathers on a moor, and the views were really spectacular. The part of Finland where I'm from is really flat. It's like we call it the pampas of Finland, so it's really flat and a lot of it is farmlands. So seeing mountains and different types of terrain was one of the things I wanted to see in Scotland. And the second hike we did was near Loch Ness, but it was a bit of a woodland hike. That didn't matter either because the woodlands are different compared to those that we have over here. It kind of reminded me of Lord of the Rings or well, of course, Outlander. And we hiked up to see a waterfall, another thing that we don't really have here in Finland, at least not here in the part where I live. So that was one thing we wanted to do while in Scotland, to go hiking. Another thing, my husband and me, we are both big fans of castles. That's another thing that we don't really have here in Finland. We have only a handful of castles and none of them is as grandiose or pretty or big as the ones in Scotland. We were really surprised that there were so many castles. I knew that there were a lot of castles, but the plenitude of them really surprised me. I wasn't expecting that much. And we had planned to visit a couple of castles, but when we were driving around we noticed that okay, there's a sign for a castle, so I did a quick Google to see the image of that castle, and then we decided, okay, should we go, should we not go, okay, let's go. And we counted that we visited altogether 13 castles during the whole trip, and we saw even more, but those are the castles that either we went inside or most of the places closed that early that we were too late to go inside, but we got to see the gardens and the surroundings of the castles anyway. And our favorite castle was probably the Linlithgow Castle that is situated between Stirling and Edinburgh, and it was built in 1620, and if I remember correct, it was the birthplace of Mary, Queen of Scots, but the castle was burned down during the Jacobite uprising in the 18th century, and it was never rebuilt after that. And the grounds surrounding the palace, they were really pretty. There was like this big park around a little lake or pond, but I don't know what you should call it. And all the walls and the staircases and many of the fireplaces, although like the stonework was still there. There was this really nice fountain in the courtyard with unicorns and lions and so on. But all the woodwork and of course all the tapestries, all the roofs, all the plaster on the walls was gone. So it was just like a shell of a building, but there was nothing inside. And you got to go around the whole building except at the moment when we visited it, one of the wings was under conservation, so they were repairing the window works, so we couldn't go into that wing. But everywhere else you could go. You could walk all the stairs, you could explore all the rooms, the great hall, everything. But like I said, they were all empty, so it was a bit eerie and kind of absurd to walk there. We had the feeling all the time if we were even allowed to go there, even though we bought a ticket to go in. But that's something I really recommend to see if you happen to be in Scotland. It's something quite different. It's quite a new building. The 17th century isn't that far away, but still it's been abandoned for a couple of hundred of years already. So you should definitely check that out if you are in the area. And another castle that was one of my favorites during the trip was, if you have been watching the Outlander series, the castle that is Linlithgow in the series, home of Jamie. The castle really exists. It's quite near Edinburgh as well, but the castle is called Midhope Castle, and we got to see that as well. But the castle is in such poor condition that you're not allowed to go inside it. All the windows and doors were boarded, so no way to go inside. And when I peeked inside, all the floors were gone and the inside was just like rubble. But I think they filmed the inside scenes in some other castle. I don't know which one, or maybe it was a set, but all the outside scenes of Linlithgow were filmed there. So it was really nice to see that place in person, and I really recommend that as well if you are an Outlander fan. What else? You're probably interested in yarn, I think. We spent only one day in Edinburgh. It was last Friday, and it was raining the whole day, so we didn't get to see as much as I wanted to. So on Friday morning we left our rental car back to Hertz and the Caddis Knits was almost next to it, so that was our first destination on Friday morning. And Caddis Knits is a lovely little shop. They had, for example, Eden Cottage yarns, lovely yarns, and blacker yarns. And I bought this Blacker Yarns Thor, which is their 13th birthday yarn, so limited edition yarn. So I was really glad I got it. I don't think you can get this anywhere in Finland, so this was a special souvenir for me. This is aran weight and 92% pure new wool and 8% alpaca. And this is the sheepstore colorway, which is the undyed natural fleece color yarn. After that, we did some sightseeing and ate a late breakfast and drank some coffee, and then we went to Ginger Twist Studios, which is a really tiny place with a beautiful turquoise storefront, absolutely gorgeous, and the owner, Ginger, she dyes almost all of the yarns she sells herself. She did have some other yarns. For example, I saw she had a broken tweed arbor, but I bought a sweater quantity, one more somewhere over here, of this like dark green, almost petrol shade, teal color maybe that's the right word. This is Ginger's hand-dyed sheepish aran, and it has 100 grams and 166 meters or 182 yards, and it is 100% British blue-faced Leicester, and the colorway is called Voyager, and I think this is absolutely gorgeous. This is like one of my favorite yarns, if you don't already know that. And I also bought the sock yarns. This is her Ginger's hand-dyed sheepish sock, which is 80% British blue-faced Leicester superwash, and then 20% nylon. And these are the two colorways I bought. This grey one is called Dub, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but this is Gorblimey. There, if you see Gorblimey, something like that. Lovely colors. I think she has amazing talent for doing or dyeing yarns that are at the same time subtle but bright. So not I like her colors because they are bright, but they are not loud, if you understand the difference. I really like her colors, and the shop was I liked her and the shop, everything. Then we were like 1 kilometer away from the last shop. I first thought that it would be too far away, and as we only had one day to be in Edinburgh, I didn't want to pressure my husband to do too much yarn shopping, but as we were only 1 kilometer away and we still had half an hour before the shop closed, I suggested that we would go to Bee Inspired Fibres. And I'm so glad that we went there because it was such a lovely shop. Even my husband, who isn't a knitter, and he isn't really that interested in anything yarn related, he commented that the shop was had such well quality stuff. They were offering yarns that were exquisite, and the needles and everything were really good quality stuff. Well, I bought this one. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this is Askitita. I don't know how to pronounce it. Fiber art merino sock, and the colorway is called Backwoods. And also I bought Malabricom yarns, sock yarn, and this is colorway Turner, like this. One last yarn purchase I made in Scotland was from a castle called Cawdor Castle. It was near Nairn, and we visited the castle. Also, we came there that late that we didn't have time to go inside, but the gardens were gorgeous. They even had their own labyrinth, and they had some Hebridean sheep, and you could buy the yarn spun from those sheep from the castle shop. So of course I had to buy some of the yarn. This is like the natural fleece color, so undyed. This is almost black. In some light it looks gray, and in some other light it looks like very like espresso dark brown. So this is pure Hebridean wool, and from the sheep from Cawdor Castle. And we saw the sheep that this yarn came from, so I think that's always a special thing when buying yarn from the when you're traveling. So special kind of souvenir. I don't know if you noticed, but I have a color scheme going here when I bought yarn on my travel, and I tried to pick colors that remind me of Scotland. These are like the fir tree forests, and these remind me of the moors and mountains and lot of stones and castles. So I have this whole kind of collection of memories here with this whole collection of yarn. Maybe you are also interested in what I knitted during the trip. I continued on my brioche shawl that I showed you in the last episode. Just a second, the yarn is stuck somewhere. And this is how much I have knitted so far. It's going to have these garter stitch stripes in the middle going. This is the lighter side, and I'm in the middle of the row here, so I can't really turn this around that well, and this is the darker side. I really love brioche because you get two very different sides that both work as the right side, so there's really not a wrong side. And these are the colors I'm using. This one, the light one, is the Hedgehog Fibres Skinny Singles. The colorway is called Cereal, and this is Madeline Tosh Merino Light, and the colorway is called Bittersweet. So this is what I've been making. It's a bit longer than the last time I showed you. And the second thing I knitted in Scotland on our holiday, I was using this yarn I bought during summer when we visited Greece in Chania. This is Juniper Moon Farms Moonshine, and I started to knit a sweater with it, and I can show you. It's going to have this cable pattern, all over cable pattern. So this is what I've been knitting during our holiday. And this is the sweater that I'm going to be showing you on my Sweater Chronicles mini-series. The third episode, the grading episode, is coming out very soon. I just have to figure out how to film what's going on my computer screen, because if I try to film it with the camera, it goes all like messy. So I would like to film it so that it scrolls nicely. But that's everything for today, and I hope you have enjoyed these little sneak peeks into our travels and the yarn shop stand and scenes and yarn and everything else. Until next time, bye!